Welcome, everybody, to the O.V.G.C podcast. I am one of your hosts, Zane,
I'm Jeff.
and absent today for the time being. If he decides to join later, will be Willow. But for now, we're going to be talking about November's game of the month, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. So,
Woo!
yes, did you end up getting to beat it? I know you were marathoning it before the show came on.
So I did end up getting through the dark quests, but I did not get to the final. I got started on it. I made my way through the Tails part. I made my way through the Eggman part. Got through the Rouge part, and then on the Knuckles part, I ended up just getting wiped out. And then it turns out when you get a game over there, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. So
Yeah,
that was pretty disheartening.
that's
Uh,
tough.
I but I got all the way up to that point though. So
I did not like the Knuckles segment because when I finished the Rouge segment, I didn't realize what I had to do exactly. I had to look it up
mm,
online because I couldn't remember. After I watched somebody else do it, I was like, "Oh, okay, stop time, go back up where you came from, then continue from there." It was a little more complicated than I was expecting it to be. Um,
hmm
uh, you can see, I believe this is the ending segment of the game. Actually, before last, during last, I'm not sure with the with the. I think this is part of the end of last. But
okay.
the the game overall was still really fun. I think
hmm
I really had a lot of fun replaying it. I was like, wow, this was basically how I remembered it. Controls were a little wonky because the camera was a lot harder to get used to because I'm so used to good camera controls nowadays. Um,
Yeah, on the Dreamcast, the camera is the shoulders.
oh, okay, so no joystick stuff. You still
Yep.
can't really turn it. You still really can't turn it. You have almost no control in the GameCube, so don't even bother. You just have to guess. um,
Okay.
there were times where it was like, oh, I just want to turn it, but I can't.
So you did your playthrough on the GameCube then?
Yeah, so I played through the whole thing on the
Okay.
GameCube. I really wanted to do the Dreamcast version with you at some point, but I don't know,
hmm
just didn't correlate this month. Um,
Yeah.
did you
It always.
go
Oh,
on?
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask you a question, but you go on first before I ask my question.
Well, go ahead and ask. Your question might
This
be relevant to what I was going to
okay.
say.
I was going to ask you if you had any difficulty with like the game kind of just like sending you off into death all the time, like over the ledges or something with certain
Okay. So,
characters.
so I would say pits are the biggest enemy of the game
Yeah.
by far. Um, when it comes to like things that suck, it's pits. That killed me the most. That was I want to say it was the worst on some of the tail stages, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
I was getting super pissed at some of the tail stages, just always over the cliff and there was sometimes so this would have been final chase for Shadow. Um I was on a rail and then it sends you right to one of the spinny gravity turbines, and I came in with such force that I hit a wall and then immediately fell off the map and died.
Wow.
I
Oh
was
my
just
gosh.
I was just coming off of the rail. I feel like and I want to know if you would kind of agree with me. I feel like in most Sonic games, especially 3D Sonic games, there's a certain level of Sonic jank, if you will, just because you can get so much acceleration, you can go so fast. The physics have to be a little bit kind of open-ended, but at the same time they have to kind of guide you in certain ways. So I feel like a lot of the 3D Sonic games have a certain amount of like 3D Sonic jank kind of built into them, and I think there's a bit of that in Adventure 2. Not saying it's a bad game. I actually did enjoy the playthrough as well. Um, do you find that there's that, or do you kind of, I don't know. For me, like I don't feel like Sonic games have I don't know, like there's always a little bit of jank to how like they handle and feel just because of you have to be able to go fast for Sonic.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the game did have a lot of janky parts for sure, or parts that were just like glitchy or just weren't working the way it was intended because they designed it to go fast. And
Hmm.
there are even parts with the slower characters, like Eggman and Tails, where they'll get like a sudden boost if they go straight enough for a little bit,
Hmm.
and then it just like
Yeah.
you try to jump off a ledge, it goes instantly dips into
Yeah.
something, or the hit collision for Tails will hit like a the part of the like mid to bottom part of a box and go like underneath it
Yep.
like super fast, and
Yep. I ran into that.
and I I would I think I would agree that it's par for the course.
On the stream right now, the Eggman versus the Golem fight. I
Yes.
did. I don't know if this was like. I don't know if you can do this every time, but what worked for me was I went and I got on one of the little hooks and I came up and I was outside of the reach of the Golem and I just
I've
kept shooting him from the hook.
I
I didn't have to
remember
do anything else.
I've done that before, but I tried that this time and it didn't work for me. And I
Okay.
don't know why it didn't
Okay.
work for me, but I know exactly I did try that because I thought that would work for me. Um,
I was gonna mention just because I did play through the Dreamcast version. Um, seeing this game on basically 1998, I think Dreamcast in Japan was hardware. Um, it was pretty impressive to play it, you know, on that old of hardware and see a game with this much scope, you know, the voice acting for everything. I know they had that with the PlayStation and everything at that point. It wasn't a huge deal to do the voice acting, but I don't know, the polish and the whole presentation for 1998 hardware. Because I feel like it's a solid game on the GameCube. You know, it
yeah.
feels like it deserves to be on that gen of hardware. So seeing it and playing it on the original hardware was fun because I didn't have a Dreamcast growing up.
Um, if if what you're seeing now looks exactly like the Dreamcast version, I also was kind of just like, this is if this is how it looks like on the Dreamcast, I'm like that. This is high quality. This is like really high quality game. It's well made. It's well voiced. Aside from the quiet parts or where the music is over talking certain things or certain characters are over talking certain other ones. Obviously,
Yep.
there's a lot of stuff that kind of messed up when they translated it. I feel, but
Hmm.
it felt really high quality or high end, and you know, the RPG elements of the Chow Garden stuff was just like, oh wow, this is really cool. You know, it showed that there was a lot of potential for this game, and then future
Hmm.
games for the not only the Dreamcast but the GameCube. Whereas
Yep.
essentially the GameCube version is a step up in terms of quality for the GameCube and versus Dreamcast, right? The GameCube's
I
got quite a
believe the
bit better.
performance is a bit better. Yeah.
Okay.
They did make some changes on like the textures and some of the lighting. Whether or not that's just because of like they didn't know how to translate the effects to, you know, new hardware, or if it was an artistic decision, who knows. Um, but apples to oranges, you know, they both look pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm. The ear jiggle physics on Rouge are ridiculous.
Very necessary.
The future of the hardware.
The
um,
future of gaming right here, boys.
yeah, we done it. Uh, I don't really have a ton to say about Sonic Adventure 2, just because it is. I mean, when you play it, if you play any of the stages, you kind of have like a full taste of what the whole rest of the game is like. I
Yes.
don't think any of the other stages really made a significant impact in how the game was played. I don't think there was any like real challenge between any of the stages, to be honest. You know, Sonic and Shadow stages were a grind session most of the time.
Hmm.
Get through it, be done with it. You know, and I feel like that's what helped people be like, oh, thank God a Sonic stage because I get to run around
Yes.
and be really fast. And then the
This
slower stages were these ones, like with Rouge and Knuckles and
I
everybody
didn't
else.
I didn't mind the breaks, but the Sonic and Shadow stages are the best parts of the game. And especially in the Dark Quest, I felt like you kind of got the City Escape early on, or the not City Escape, mm, the Shadow City Escape one, and then you kind of have like a big chunk of I feel like the other stages. Then you get the other Shadow stage kind of thrown in there, and then I feel like I just felt like it was Eggman stage after Eggman stage. I'm like, I need some more of the Shadow stages, especially on the dark missions.
I agree. I felt like the
The
shadow
pacing
stage.
wasn't as good.
Yes, yeah. The shadow just didn't feel as nice. Um,
Yeah,
what did you think of the story overall? Um,
it's a Sonic story.
do you think it
I
was?
mean,
Do you think it was just kind of like really like ham fisted, or do you think there was at least some level of nuance that was actually kind of interesting to listen to?
for me, it almost reaches the like not so bad it's good, but like it's got the campy charm to it. I mean, it's Sonic. It's never going to be super deep. It's not Shakespeare. It's Sonic. But it's as far as Sonic goes, it's one of the more memorable stories, I'd say.
I I personally thought I could see a lot of like this is how fan fiction occur is written type kind of stuff across the
Hmm.
board.
Yeah.
Just
Yep, I could see that.
like Eggman being a villain, but at the end he's got to like work with the good guys, but really he's still just a bad guy, and same with everybody else. And then
And then even just Shadow being, Sonic but black and red instead. Like it kind of seems like kind of fanficky, but at the end of the day, it's like because it's a product of the time and because I grew up with it especially, it's endearing. I mean, I've got a soft spot for Adventure 2 and I always will.
yeah,
Oh, I was gonna mention, um, the thing that I missed out on for this play is the multiplayer. Um, I enjoyed playing the multiplayer and doing like especially the Shadow and Sonic races. That
okay,
was like one of the more fun parts of the playing battle on the GameCube. Um, didn't get to do that this round on the Dreamcast, and I was kind of curious how that played in comparison. So maybe I'll get a chance to do that at
we'll
some
have
point.
to check that out sometime because I'd like to try out the combat and racing stuff again because I think it was you play as Tails and Eggman and they just fight each other, or in like an arena, right? Or you do the racing
Oh, it's been so long.
stuff. I can't remember it all, but didn't get to try that. Just mostly messed around with the Chow Garden a lot.
Hmm.
How did you get that?
I didn't get to do the VMU thing. I wanted to
No,
get the batteries and do the Chow
well,
Adventure. Did you get to do any of the Game Boy Advance connectivity?
no, I didn't even have time. I was so busy this last
Mm.
month. I did unlock the Dark Garden and the Hero Garden, so I did do our challenge.
Awesome. Good,
Um,
good, good.
and then Amons did or Amons, uh, however you want to say it. Let me know sometime. Did so much. If you've seen any of his stuff in the Sonic and Adventure 2 battle, the comment section about it, maxing out Chow levels to 99, beating everything,
Wild.
going for A ranks. Yeah, you're crazy. And good suggestion for the game, by the way. So I had a lot of
Was that
fun.
his
That
suggestion?
was his suggestion. He got it
I like
last minute.
this one. This was a good one.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun to do. Um, it was good revisiting it. I did think about picking up the DX remaster for the GameCube just to play the first one again.
Mhm.
But I'm not that in love with it. So, do you have any other final words on this one? Because I don't really have a ton to say anymore. I had a lot of fun with
That
Chow stuff, but like that was kind of it.
Yeah. Yep. I think we covered it.
All right, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, good game. Glad we got it for this month. I'm glad we got to revisit it. And anybody out there who hasn't played any of our game of the months so far, look at that list and check them out. A lot of good ones. A lot of really good ones
Hmm.
so far we've done.
for
All
sure.
right, let's go to our suggestions for our
Oh, yeah,
December game of the month.
I need to review what we had.
So, first up on the list is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I don't know if we had this one as a suggestion before. I'm pretty sure we did, but
This
not
one's a
not
Stone
since we
Cold
did.
classic.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can go wrong with it. Two Zelda games on our list. This for suggestions this month. So, Link to the Past, pretty self-explanatory. The
I
last
think there's
top-down one before the 3D ones,
I think it was suggested for
right?
Game Boy Advance, but I think our kind of protocol is you can play whatever version you want, as if it's a game where the versions aren't that dissimilar.
Yeah, yeah. So, played on the Super Nintendo, played on the GBA. I don't think there is any real difference between the two. So, I'd say if there was two major discrepancies between the two, um, then maybe pick one over the other, but they're both basically the same unless you want to include Four
Mhm.
Swords. But I
I
think
was going to say
that's
the Four Swords content is the biggest change.
that's the only thing on its own really at that point.
Where's the
Okay, pretty easy.
list?
Next is yours, Wario Land 3
There you go. Ah, yes.
for the Game Boy Color.
I have not ever played through this whole thing. I've always gotten started on it and then got lost.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear it's the most Metroidvania-ish of all of them, so that's the one I wanted to try this month.
Is there? I did play this one a little bit when I was a kid, but I never really got very
Hmm.
far. Did you did you know that? Is there a lot of backtracking in it, or
Some, as far as I know, there is some backtracking you have to do, and it's one of those things where you get the item in one area, and that opens up a path, uh, in a different area. So,
oh,
I,
okay.
I, I, I've always wanted to play through it, but I never have. So, um, for me, my suggestions are usually like, what's a game that like I've wanted to either play or finish,
Yeah.
that always looks interesting and I know is like well regarded, but I just haven't gotten around to it.
The Wario games are one of those that I just don't ever look at and say, "Yeah, I'll jam through that today." No, they always seem so weird and different and hard to understand to me sometimes.
Hmm.
Like what I said about last month when you had Wario Land 4, and Wario was just standing there and he had that dude just throw a potion on him and he turned invisible. I wouldn't have known that was what was going to happen. I wouldn't have known.
Right.
Wario Land does this thing where
And,
it just
and
does
I
what it
feel like
wants.
I feel like that's part of the charm of it is like it there's so much variety. I mean, this is a Game Boy Color game, but like look at how many different colorful scenes we've gotten just in this little gameplay clip. So
Golf.
I I wouldn't mind this. I wouldn't mind this one. Rough.
Yeah,
That's cool.
rough. My feelings about Wario Land.
And it's this is another excuse for me to bust out the analog pocket. So
Yeah, all right. It's a good one, and you know what? It would be a good one. I'm excited to try it and really work on it because I do want to play through Wario Land games.
do you have the cart?
This would give me a purpose. I think I have this one in my
Okay.
library of Game Boy games.
It
So
it's interesting. Do you see how it'll like tell you on the save screens? It'll be English and Japanese. I'm pretty sure like there's only one ROM of this game, as far as I know, international.
oh wow,
Uh,
really?
so you actually when it says like now saving, it's got like the Japanese text and the English text.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, very
I'm
cool.
pretty sure my cart does the same thing.
Well, I'm excited to see how that plays out if we get this one. All right. Let's go to Majora's Mask really quick. So we had Majora's Mask suggested last month. It didn't
Ooh.
get. Did we have it for? Somebody suggested it for November last month, I believe. Uh, Dark Zelda game. one of my favorites. I would
Yes.
absolutely replay this game. Excuse me. I don't think I would 100% it. Not really something I'm
Oh, I can just look at your tabs.
want to do it again. Yeah, well, there you go.
I keep looking at my phone for the list of games. I can just look at your tabs. I'm good.
Yes. I don't know if I would do it again, but I love Majora's Mask. Really good.
Hmm. I think we covered most of our thoughts on Majora's Mask last time. Uh, but yeah, just to reiterate, I mean, it does such a different, it's such a left turn for Zelda, but has enough of like the gameplay and what makes Zelda good. I love it. It's such a
Yeah,
good Nintendo 64 game.
and good characters. I think my favorite thing about Majora's Mask is how all of the characters matter. They all
Yes.
have personality. They all have something to do, and that was really one of the coolest things about it.
Like, look, this shopkeeper has fleas.
Yeah, and he's
I mean,
he just
there is something about every single character.
yeah, they're all so cool. Oh yeah, and we're don't forget we got to talk about creating a bonus goal for everybody, an extra challenge for
Yeah,
each game.
depending on what game. I suppose if it's a game that neither you or I know a whole lot about, we might have to kind of get some community input on that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll especially if we do one of the other ones that I haven't played before. There's a few left on this list.
For sure.
All right.
I wouldn't be disappointed with Majora's Mask.
No, I wouldn't either. That would be based on how busy I am with work. Depends on whether or not I actually get to that one because I
Yep.
could probably sit down and play through it and get stuck again. I always play whenever I do start a game of Majora's Mask. I always start it and I go right to Woodfall Temple, and that's when I take a break.
Yep. Cool.
Okay. And then revisit to Aria of Sorrow here.
Mm,
Another one that we had selected as well previously.
classic.
Yeah. Here's a boss fight. Oh, yes. The Colosseum.
I mean, I think it's popular opinion that this is the best Game Boy Advance Castlevania game, and that's totally fair. I think.
I would agree. I think it's very, very good. I mean, there's only three. It's so
Right.
hard to beat the Castlevania games that have the RPG elements and the equipment mechanics and the sliding,
The
the
Soul
backstepping.
system.
Yeah, just all that stuff. Just
And graphically, it looks good. It's the best out of the three.
yeah, look at these sprites. The hands look so good.
Yeah, it's just interesting and fun to look at. This is a good one. Um, a lot of variety in the gameplay here. It does have, as far as I know, there's kind of a not exactly like the inverse castle, but there's like a second castle.
Hmm.
I believe in this one.
Now, now there's a good ending and a bad ending, right? Or I know there's at least more than one ending
Yeah,
based
yeah,
off of the
yeah.
name of the walkthrough. Um, I think you get the bad ending if you just don't go to the inverse castle, right?
I'm pretty sure that that's one of the bad
I think
endings.
it's one of the criteria for one of the endings of some sort.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we've
I've never played through the full game on that one. I'll have to admit,
yeah,
but I've always enjoyed what I have played of it.
yeah. I'm sure there's something we can come up with for that one, in
Hmm.
terms of a challenge and in terms of a good challenge for this one. So then let's drop into Symphony of the Night, the predecessor to Aria of Sorrow in terms of gameplay style.
This one is so much for me. Just having the higher screen resolution makes this a much more enjoyable game. Um, the small screen real estate and your character taking up so much space. I mean, instantly you can see like Alucard doesn't take nearly as much space on the screen here. You have so much more room.
Yeah,
The extra buttons, the extra combat systems.
I
This is a better game.
yeah, it is a better game. Just in general, it's a better game. um,
and that's not to hate on Arya. I like Arya too, but
Yeah.
this if this one gets picked, it's time for my yearly playthrough, and I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, all right. You got to call it in December. You're either going to play it for your yearly playthrough or you're just going to play it for the O.V.G.C.
There's so many platforms. There's so many platforms to play this on too.
I want to
Um,
try it on a different one.
I mean, original would be good. But I've played it on mobile.
Uh-huh.
The mobile version on Android's actually pretty good, especially if you can get a controller.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. I didn't even really realize there was a
But
mobile version.
I don't know if there's a ton to say about Symphony. I mean, everyone knows it's one of the best. I mean, that's one of the greatest games of all time. So
Oh, right now he's in the inverse castle, too. I think if I were to get this one, I just re-beat Symphony a couple years ago.
okay.
I'd probably just sit down and do the Richter fight, the
Hmm.
Richter version, where you just play as Richter and go through it. Hydrostorm and everything. So
That's a fun second mode of the game. I
I
like the Richter playthrough.
I had a lot of fun with it when I first realized how it
It's
worked.
a challenge with some of the fights too.
And all his abilities are inputs from Street Fighter, right?
Oh, I don't. I don't. So, some of the abilities are like it's not like exactly Street Fighter inputs, but like the high jump and like some of the moves are, and like the dash attack are command inputs. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Still, solid choice. Good game. If you have not played it, Symphony of the Night is definitely one of the games to ever play.
Yes. It's. I would say it might be top 10. I mean, it's super good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a. I wouldn't even say that's like a controversial statement.
Right.
All right. What do we got next? Mega Man Legends.
Woohoo!
This is the majority of how the gameplay works for Mega Man Legends. You go into
Hmm.
little dungeons and you fight robots and finish a thing, something. I think this is the beginning of the first dungeon in the game. Um, Playing
Lots of
as
strafing.
a different type of Mega Man. Yeah, you're gonna want to strafe. You have to strafe a lot in it. It's really tough. Boss fights are tough when enemies like bosses like spin around you in circles, and you have to like aim by strafing. I don't think there's any lock on for it at all. You have to just kind of figure it out. I think there is a bit
It's
of a
it's
guide.
kind of it's kind of if I recall, it's been a while since I played this one, but I want to say that like you kind of shoot towards an enemy that's in front of you.
Oh yeah, Eamon says the camera is the hardest enemy. So, which is
Yes.
true. It's true.
There is weapon customization, so there's kind of RPG elements to it.
Hmm.
Um it I've got the N64 version, so that's what I'll be playing if this gets picked. It's a unique game. It's fun.
I haven't beaten it. I did play it. If you select an easy mode on the N64 version, Mega Man starts out with his Mega Buster and his helmet and everything, and
Like the Max Buster,
yeah,
whatever they
and
call
you
it.
can't die, and you just and everything's unlocked too, which I thought was weird when I was a kid. I was like, oh, I can just beat the game now. So I don't know if you can do that in the PS1 version, but uh,
I always loved graphically how this one looks for, especially for this gen of like the fact that they went with this kind of like anime-ish look aged so well for a PlayStation game.
it does look really nice. You're right. I do like the colors. It stands out, like kind of like a comic book
V
almost.
Very vibrant. Some of the voice acting is hit or miss. I I think Tron Bond's voice acting is pretty memorable.
I'll have to get back into it. I barely even remember the voices. This would be a fun one to go through, though.
Yeah.
It's one I could just chill with, because, like you see here, combat doesn't really start until you kind of just initiate it yourself. Um,
Hmm.
Eamon says Masahiro Sakurai did a video praising Mega Man Legends anime style and made a lot of good points about it. Oh, I'd have to check that video
Hmm.
out. So Sakurai's played probably everything that he's ever needed to for
I am so bummed Legends 3 never happened.
uh I would say I was
That
bummed
I
too, but
think
I've never played through all the first one and the second one at all. Oh, that's right. There was a whole thing with 3, right? And it was being made and then
for
it
the
got
3, I think it
canceled.
was a 3DS game, right?
Yeah, yep. I remember now. Oh my gosh. And then there's two Tron games, I think.
There's one on the PlayStation.
Oh, okay. Just the one. Um yeah, and then there is also an overworld that you can go back and forth to, like a little town. So
Yeah, this would be a good one. I would not be sad if that one gets picked.
very
We
nice.
got a lot of good ones this month.
Yeah, let's see. Last two here. So Final Fight 1. This is a
Ooh.
side-scrolling beat 'em up for the Game Boy Advance based on the Final Fight game, like the fighting game with Mike Hagar. The as you can see on some of the little clips on the bottom here. You can either play as Guy or Cody or Mike Hagar. Those are the three
Okay,
characters.
so it's all three characters.
Yeah, you can pick one or the other. They also there's like a sub character too you can get or unlock. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but um,
Is this one close enough to this one? I almost feel like it's supposed to be like Final Fight, the arcade game, like Final Fight, right? Because I
no.
want to say the Super Nintendo. No, this is different.
So the original Final Fight game, I believe, is a 2D fighter, isn't it? Or is the original arcade game also a side scroller?
Uh,
Andre Jr. looks
See,
like
it was a
Andre the
Capcom
Giant.
Play System arcade beat 'em up.
Was it a side scrolling beat 'em up like this?
Yeah, yeah, it's like this.
Okay, okay. Then I guess I didn't know. Because the version
This
of
looks like
Final
the
Fight
OG
that
one to
I
me. I
have,
gotta
it says 1, so it must be a
bring up
remake of it.
what the difference is. Arcade.
Oh, the story is that Mike